Something very important just happened in the UK, and it cuts straight through years of narrative, emotion, and carefully crafted public messaging. Prince Harry has officially been told, in black and white, by the British legal system, you cannot demand to be treated as a working prince when you chose to stop being one. The government didn't insult him, didn't mock him, didn't grandstand. They simply applied the rules. And the result is devastating for the image Harry and Meghan have spent years trying to protect, because this ruling doesn't just deny security. It denies entitlement. At the center of this case is one basic fact that gets lost in all the noise. Prince Harry voluntarily stepped back from royal duties. That decision came with consequences that were clearly explained at the time. One of those consequences was losing automatic, taxpayer-funded police protection. The Home Office didn't invent a new rule just for him. The body responsible RAVEC reviews security needs for anyone connected to the royal family based on role, risk, and public function. The court confirmed that process was lawful, reasonable, and fair. That matters, because it kills the idea that Harry was somehow singled out or punished. Here's where things get uncomfortable. Harry's legal argument leaned heavily on emotion, danger, trauma, historical loss, and public hostility. Those concerns were acknowledged, but the court made something very clear: feelings do not override governance. Risk alone does not entitle someone to permanent state protection, especially when they are no longer serving the state. That's not cruelty. That's how constitutional systems work. Titles do not equal lifetime benefits, and sympathy does not rewrite policy. Meghan Markle's role in this saga cannot be ignored, because the framing of this case mirrors the framing we've seen since day one. Security was presented not as a procedural issue, but as a moral one, almost as if denying it was an act of malice. But the court wasn't asked whether Harry and Meghan are popular, liked, or treated fairly by the press. It was asked whether the government acted lawfully. And the answer was yes. Over and over again. That distinction exposes how much of the public narrative has been emotional branding rather than institutional reality. One of the strongest points Harry raised was that private security cannot legally access UK intelligence systems, potentially leaving him vulnerable. The court examined this carefully and still rejected it. Why? Because the system already accounts for that limitation. Security decisions are made dynamically, based on visits, threats, and context. When Harry travels to the UK, his protection is assessed and adjusted accordingly. What he wanted wasn't protection, it was guaranteed, permanent privilege. And that's where the line was drawn. This ruling also quietly protects the British public. Taxpayer-funded security is not symbolic. It costs millions. The court's decision reinforces that public money cannot be used to subsidize private lifestyles, no matter how famous or royal-adjacent someone is. That's a deeply unpopular truth for celebrity culture, where status often overrides accountability. But in this case, the system held firm, and that's why this ruling matters far beyond Harry himself. What makes this situation so striking is how avoidable it all was. Had Harry accepted the framework case-by-case protection, assessed risk, no automatic entitlement, this likely wouldn't have become a legal spectacle. But instead, the approach taken was confrontational, absolutist, and public. That strategy mirrors Meghan's broader pattern: when institutions don't bend, frame resistance as injustice. The problem is, courts don't operate on narratives. They operate on law. And this is where the humiliation quietly lands. Not in headlines, not in jokes, but in precedent. A senior royal went to court and was told, respectfully but firmly, that he is not above process. That his title does not compel the state. That stepping away from duty means stepping away from privilege. No conspiracy. No vendetta. Just consequence. For a couple that has built a brand around being wronged, this ruling removes the villain. There's also a long-term implication here that Harry may not have anticipated. This judgment becomes part of the public record. Any future claims about being cut off or abandoned now run into a documented legal reality. The system worked as designed. That makes future storytelling harder, because facts don't bend easily once they're written into law. This wasn't the tabloid speaking. This was the judiciary. In the end, this case wasn't about safety alone, it was about identity. Harry wants the protection of a prince without the responsibility of one. Meghan wants the moral authority of institutional critique while still benefiting from its prestige. The UK government, through the courts, said no. Not emotionally. Not politically. Just procedurally. And that might be the most damaging outcome of all because it exposes the gap between perception and reality in a way no interview ever could.